Do your friends make fun of you because your taste in movies is so bad that they refuse to be seen with you? Do you have to hide in your basement to watch your favorite cult classics to avoid being publicly shamed and keep your wife from leaving you? How's it going, creeps? Welcome back to Cinema Creep. Cinema Creep is a place where I discuss, dissect, and review everything vile, disgusting, and downright terrifying in the world of horror cinema. Here at Cinema Creep, I can appreciate a very well thought out cerebral horror film where it requires additional research once the film is over, and I can also appreciate a total shit show. You know, the ones that I'm too embarrassed to admit publicly that I like until now. Because tonight we are talking about some of my guilty pleasure horror films that I love and I watch on a regular basis. So there really isn't a ranking on these, but I'll put them in a list because why not? People love lists and rankings and it just makes things easier to talk about. Coming in at number 5, we have Don't Panic from 1987. This movie is so fucking bad and I absolutely love it. And I will defend it till the death. Mexican writer Ruben Galindo Jr. seemed like he was clearly trying to write a Mexican version of Nightmare on Elm Street, and he failed miserably at making this movie and at trying to make a Mexican Nightmare on Elm Street. This movie will have you shaking your head and laughing while wanting to show it to all of your pets. My cats seem to be the only other breathing creatures that will watch this with me, and they don't even stay till the end. The premise of Don't Panic isn't that bad. You have teenagers who play with a Ouija board and unleash a spirit named Virgil that goes on a killing spree, while trying to frame Michael, our main mullet-having dinosaur pajama-wearing actor, for the crimes that he is committing. And yes, he's supposed to be a 17-year-old wearing matching dinosaur pajamas. Check out this sick slow-motion shot from the movie. The movie has good gore and special effects, cool Deadite-inspired demons and supernatural entities thanks to Screamin' Mad George, who's known for his work on movies like Predator. People often don't like this movie because the acting is honestly pretty shitty and the story takes too long to get going, with half the movie being a weird teenager coming of age / romance story. Also, the soundtrack, you know, it's really weird and it never really matches the tone of the movie. And the ending is also really weird too, and it'll have you looking around the room for approval once the credits roll. And speaking of credits, what the fuck is that song during the credits? That's hilarious. But despite all the flaws of this movie, I still love it, and that's how you know it's real. If you haven't seen it, definitely go watch it, and watch it with a friend. You know, one of those friends that you don't like or that you are trying to convince, you know, that you're a psychopath. Moving slightly left in the toilet bowl is my number 4 pick, and I'm talking about none other than Slumber Party Massacre 2, also from 1987. What kind of drugs were they on in 1987? I remember seeing this movie for the first time and I could not believe how much of a left turn this movie took out of nowhere into sheer lunacy. I had to check to make sure I was still watching the same film about halfway through because it just fucking goes off the rails. Also, heed my warning. Listen carefully. Be careful with showing this one to other people because people will think you are a fucking idiot when you show them this film. And you probably won't be able to recommend movies to the people you show it to ever again. So gone are those days. They will no longer let you recommend movies on movie night. Written and directed by Deborah Brock, Slumber Party Massacre 2 is written in more of a comedic or black comedy tone than the original film. But it will still have people questioning your IQ level during the entirety of the film because none of it is really funny. It's more of a what the fuck are they doing type of thing. And again, I really like this movie, and I think it's because even though it's goofy and dumb, the cast plays it serious. Everybody in this movie plays it like it's a genuine horror film. The killer is a rockabilly dressed driller killer who does some really weird shit, you know, the entire movie, and his weapon is, you know, a fucking guitar with a drill on the end. And also, the guy that plays the killer is the son of the founder of Little Caesars, if things couldn't get any stranger. Yeah, so that's cool. Just adds to more weirdness of the movie. Anyways, this movie is so much fun, and if I could pick one movie to show North Korea to represent American horror films, it would be this one. Imagine how confusing that would be. Anyway, show it to your worst enemy. Let's move on down the list. So here we go, deeper down into the septic tank. We have number 3 on our list, and that is none other than I Know What You Did Last Summer from 1997. By this point, you may be questioning if I even like horror movies at all, but I assure you, I do actually like some good films, but before you change the channel, let me defend myself. So there I was, 11 years old when this movie was released in theaters, and it may have been the first movie I ever snuck in to see, and I remember loving it just as much then as I do now. Not only does it hold a special place in my creepy little heart for nostalgia reasons, but it's a fun movie all around. And for preteen kids during that time, this movie has Jennifer Love Hewitt, Freddie Prinze Jr., Sarah Michelle Gellar, and Ryan Felipe. Oh, and John Galecki. You had all of these up-and-coming young actors that you saw all over magazines and on TV, TRL, in a horror film. It was great. The 90s was something special, and it was a great time to grow up. And if you missed it, I'm sorry, that sucks a lot for you guys, but it was sick. Anyway, throughout my conversations with other horror films, I have found that people either love this movie or they hate this movie, and there really is no in between. And the fun starts from the opening credits because they're set to Typo Negative's Summer Breeze. The movie just feels good, and that's why I somehow end up watching this movie at least once a month. It is one of those good, cozy comfort movies to just put on when there's nothing else that you want to watch and you just need some background noise. The acting can be a bit cringe at some points, and the plot is a little dumber than a bucket of chum, but none of that matters here. If you have a friend that you want to lose, show them this film and tell them that it's great. But who needs friends anyways when we have each other, right? I'll be your friend. It's okay, you don't need friends. I'm here. So here we are already at number 2 on our list, and I'm having a great time making you think less of me because of my movie choices. Alright, you cheeky bastard, if you were thinking the second film on this list was The New York Ripper from Lucio Fulci, then quack quack motherfucker, you were right. I love a good Italian horror film just as much as the next guy, and this stinking, heaping pile of sleaze is one of my favorite guilty pleasures. The New York Ripper is a film that I recommend to everyone that hasn't seen it, and I can't wait till they watch it and hear that Donald Duck sounding son of a bitch for the first time. It's always hilarious when you watch this movie with somebody and that part comes up for the first time and you're looking at them as they're watching the movie just to see their expression. The movie, although weird, is actually quite good and filmed nicely for an Italian giallo slasher made in America in 1982. Being a Lucio Fulci film, it's full of sleaze and gore, and I enjoy every minute of it. The film was banned on and off in the UK till about 2007 and had a bad reception when it was released, being called perverse and pointless. I mean, come on. Come on, that sounds perfect, right? The movie is a classic New York City detective story as they try to catch a serial killer that is slicing up young women around the city. It's said that when the movie was given to the Board of Classification for rating in the UK, the board was so appalled by this film that they hired a police escort to take the film out of the country and back to the rights holders in Italy. They were like, this movie sucks so bad, we gotta give it to you to make sure that nobody sees this, get it the fuck out of the country. And if that doesn't make you want to watch this film, then I don't know what else to tell you. And if you haven't seen it, then put it on your must-watch list for the year. It's gross and uncomfortable, just like the summertime. Don't tell your mom, but we made it to the top of the list, and the number 1 guilty pleasure film is Jason Takes Manhattan, aka Jason Takes a Long-Ass Boat Ride. So this movie has so much wrong with it that I can understand why people hate it, but for some reason I love it, and it doesn't rank among the worst Friday the 13th films for me either. But that's a whole other different video. From the opening voiceover and the theme song of the movie Darkest Side of the Night playing over shots of New York City, you already know you're about to bear witness to 100 minutes of motion picture greatness that you're gonna have to defend for the rest of your life, probably. And that's what I do every time, topic of this movie comes up. Although the gore and sleaze are minimized in this Friday film, it's still a good watch, and if you haven't realized yet, I love seedy 80s New York horror films, even though only a small percentage of this movie actually takes place in New York City. It's said that the script originally had more of the story taking place in the city, but due to budgetary constraints, Paramount couldn't afford it, so they opted for more time on the boat, and the bulk of the city shots actually being shot in Vancouver and not in New York. Way to go, studio. Let's name a movie Jason Takes Manhattan and Ride Out New York. That's what studios are perfect for, just fucking shit up. The CGI in Manhattan is about as bad as the story and the logic. So I have a question and a riddle for you guys. How does a boat get from Crystal Lake to the Atlantic Ocean for a trip to New York City? Your guess is as good as mine. But who am I to question it, especially in the 8th installment of the Friday franchise? I actually really enjoy the entire first portion of the film that takes place on the boat, and notice the movie begins to really fall apart once they do make it to New York. It just feels very, very forced, like they were just, I don't know, trying to force that part in for the title. The acting in the film is lukewarm, and against popular opinion, Hodder to me is not the best Jason Voorhees. Also, there's just something about this movie though, maybe because it was shot in 1989 and it was capturing the last essence of the 1980s, and you can kind of see it and tell in this film. Maybe that is what makes it so special. I don't know, but I do love it, and I can't quit it for some reason. Manhattan always pulls me back in. So that's it. Feel free to roast me in the comments. Do you agree or disagree with any of these guilty pleasure films that I listed in this video? If so, let me know in the comments how much you hate me and what your favorite film on this list is. Also, this is just volume number 1. There will be more guilty pleasure videos coming. I promise you, I like a lot of bad movies. And don't forget to check the description for cool ways to help support the Cinema Creep channel. Last but not least, don't be a chud and like the video if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any more horror content from the Cinema Creep channel. And that's it. As always, stay creepy, and I'll see you guys on the next one. See ya.